In video 1, we looked at bringing data into an Excel workbook, and the method that we used was by going to data in the ribbon and using the get data button. And the data we brought in were actually text files or CSV files. Now I want to bring data in again into a new workbook, but I want to do it through Power Pivot, and I want to bring in a database, not a CSV file. So let's start first of all by creating a new file. So I'm going to press Control N, which is a new workbook. I'm then going to press F12, which is Save As, and I want to save it to the desktop, and I want to call it Northwind Traders. So it's just an Excel workbook called Northwind Traders, and I'll click the Save button. All right, so now I want to go to Power Pivot. I could go to Data and click the Manage button here, or I could go to Power Pivot and hit the Manage button here. Either way, I'll go to Power Pivot. Now let me just make Power Pivot a little bit bigger. Now I want to get external data from within Power Pivot, and that's what these options here are for, get external data. I can get it from all sorts of sources using this From Other Source button, or I could actually go from Database and choose from Access if it's an Access database, which it is. So I'm going to choose this method. I then see that I have this Access connection name, and I'm going to browse now for the database I want to bring in, called Northwind, and I open that database. If I had a username and a password that was required in order to log into this database, I would enter these here and potentially save the password. I can test the connection to make sure that the connection is good to that database, and I can find out advanced information by hitting the Advanced button. But I'll just go Cancel and Next. At this stage, I can select from a list of tables and views within that database the ones I want to import. So I go next to this, and here's a list of the tables with this particular icon, and a list of the views or queries with these particular icons. I could import all of them by clicking this option, or unselect all of them by clicking it again. If I want to select the tables, I'll click the first one, shift click the last one, and then click one more. And that gives me a range of tables I want to bring in. I'll then click the Finish button, and that will then start importing the data into this Excel file. I see that I have success and that it's actually brought in 8 tables, and in each table it says 8 rows, 91 rows, 9 rows, 2,155 rows were brought in. So at this point I'll just simply click the Close button, and all 8 tables will appear in my Power Pivot as sheets at the bottom of my screen. So that is how you get external data from within Power Pivot, and that is how you bring a database in. Now, because it's a database, and particularly a relational database, I want to have a look at the relationships or the diagram view. And so within Power Pivot, there is this button on the right-hand side called Diagram View, and I'm going to give that a click. By going into the diagram view, I can see the relationship that exists between the tables that were in that database. I can see here, for example, there's a table or a query called suppliers, and I can move it and I can stretch it. And looking at the relationship, I can see that one supplier supplies many, that's the asterisk, products. And if I actually rest on the actual supplier ID, let me just stretch that, I can see it's supplier ID to supplier ID if I rest on the line. See how there's a green border around supplier ID to supplier ID? That tells me the two fields, the primary field and the foreign field, that are linked between these two tables. Now here's my categories, and if I rest on category ID, let me just stretch it so we can see. I can see that there is a one-to-many relationship between category and product. So one category, maybe seafood, has many products. One supplier, rest on that line, supplies many products. Over here, I have some orders, and I'm just going to move things around and stretch them. And I have employees, and I have customers, and I have shippers. Let me just stretch these a little bit and move them. And here's my shippers over here. Okay, so the idea here when I rest on the line is the shippers and the orders table is connected. They are connected by shipper ID and ship via. One shipper can ship out many orders. Over here, there's a relationship between employees and orders. One employee can handle many orders. And over here, we have customers, and one customer can place many orders. Now, one order can have many details, and so that's the relationship we see here. And those details can be multiple products. So one order can be multiple products, and so there's a one-to relationship there. So I don't want to get too detailed, but if you are familiar with database relationships, this is important and how the data links together, and that is what your diagram view is showing you. You can flick between data view and diagram view using these two buttons here. So I'm going back to data view.